Hello and welcome to this long B1 level podcast episode. Today we begin a slow, detailed, mysterious story about a young woman, a late-night train ride, and a stranger who changes her life in unexpected ways. So relax, get comfortable, and let's begin. It was almost midnight when 22-year-old Emma arrived at the small train station. The platform was cold, the lights were dim, and the wind felt sharp as it passed between the empty benches. The last train of the night was coming, and Emma was tired. She had spent the whole day helping her aunt move to a new apartment, and all she wanted now was to go home, take a hot shower, and sleep. As she looked around, she noticed something strange. The station was completely silent. No workers, no families, no students rushing to catch the train. Just Emma, alone. The digital screen above her blinked slowly. Train 117, arriving in 5 minutes. Emma sighed and sat on a bench. She hugged her backpack and closed her eyes for a moment. She wasn't scared, but the silence felt unusual. Even late at night, the station was never this empty. She opened her eyes when she heard footsteps. At the other end of the platform, a tall man appeared. He was wearing a long, dark coat, and he walked with slow, steady steps. His face was calm, but something about his expression seemed serious, almost too serious for a normal train ride. Emma looked away quickly, trying not to seem rude. A minute later, the train finally arrived. Lights flashed, doors opened with a loud hiss. To her surprise, the man didn't enter the train immediately. He stood near the door and waited, as if he was deciding something important. Emma stepped onto the train first. It was almost empty, just a few sleeping passengers and the sound of the train engine humming. She chose a seat near the window and placed her backpack beside her. Right before the doors closed, the man entered and sat across from her. He didn't speak. He didn't take out a phone. He just looked out the window, deep in thought. The train started moving. At first, everything was normal. But then something strange happened. After a few minutes, the man leaned slightly forward and asked in a quiet voice, "Do you usually travel alone this late?" Emma felt her heart jump. She wasn't sure if she should answer, but the man's voice wasn't threatening. It was calm, almost gentle. Still, Emma replied carefully, "Not really. Today was just a long day." The man nodded slowly. "I see. Long days often lead to long nights," he said, almost as if he was talking to himself. Emma wasn't sure what that meant. Before she could ask anything, the lights inside the train flickered once, twice, 3 times, then stabilized again. Emma frowned. "That's strange," she said. The man didn't seem surprised at all. Instead, he looked directly at her for the first time and said, "The lights will flicker again, and when they do, don't panic." Emma froze. "What? Why?" she asked. But the man didn't answer. He sat back in his seat and looked out the window again. Emma's heart began to beat faster. Something was happening, and this was only the beginning. The next morning, Alex woke up earlier than usual. Not because he had to, but because something inside him felt different. His room was quiet. The sun came through the curtains slowly, painting the walls with soft light. And for the first time in weeks, Alex didn't feel heavy. He didn't feel strong either, but he didn't feel defeated. He sat up in his bed and whispered to himself, "One small step. Just one."
He didn't know exactly what that step would be, but repeating that sentence made him feel calmer. After brushing his teeth and washing his face, Alex sat at his desk. Papers, notebooks, and unfinished tasks were everywhere. Normally, this would make him feel overwhelmed, but today he felt something new. Curiosity. What if I just choose one thing? He thought. So he chose a simple task, cleaning one drawer of his desk. Not everything, just one drawer. It took less than 10 minutes, but when he finished, Alex felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: control. A small part of his life was a little more organized, a little more peaceful. He whispered again, "Okay, that wasn't so hard." And that moment, small, quiet, almost invisible, was the true beginning of his improvement. The walk that changed his mind. The next morning, Alex woke up earlier than usual. Not because he had to, but because something inside him felt different. His room was quiet. The sun came through the curtains slowly, painting the walls with soft light. And for the first time in weeks, Alex didn't feel heavy. He didn't feel strong either, but he didn't feel defeated. He sat up in his bed and whispered to himself, "One small step. Just one." He didn't know exactly what that step would be, but repeating that sentence made him feel calmer. After brushing his teeth and washing his face, Alex sat at his desk. Papers, notebooks, and unfinished tasks were everywhere. Normally, this would make him feel overwhelmed, but today, he felt something new. Curiosity. What if I just choose one thing? He thought.
The Lost City Under the Lake. Hello, and welcome to this B2 level podcast. Today, we begin a long and mysterious story about discovery, history, danger, and courage. So sit back, relax, and let yourself enter a world where secrets sleep underwater. For as long as he could remember, Elias Harlow, a 28-year-old historian, had heard people talk about one old legend. Deep inside Silver Mist Lake, there is a lost city. Some people said the city disappeared after an earthquake. Others said it sank because of a terrible curse. And a few believed it never existed at all, just a story parents told children to make them sleep. But Elias didn't believe in stories. He believed in evidence. And after 10 years of studying maps, ancient documents, and forgotten stories, he finally found something that changed everything. A stone tablet buried under a collapsed farmhouse, showing detailed symbols of a city beneath a lake. The stone tablet had one message carved at the bottom. The city of Ardane still breathes below the water. Elias stared at the tablet for hours that night. The words echoed in his mind like a whisper. If this was real, if the city truly existed, it would be the greatest discovery of his career, maybe even the entire century. But Silver Mist Lake was dangerous. The water was dark, deep, ice cold, and full of sharp rocks. Fishermen refused to go near the center. Divers never returned. Still, Elias couldn't walk away. The journey begins. 3 weeks later, on a cold morning just before sunrise, Elias reached the lake. Fog covered the water like a blanket. The wind was quiet. The world felt frozen. He carried only a backpack, a lantern, notebooks, and a waterproof case full of research. As he stepped onto the old wooden dock, he felt something strange. The air seemed heavier. The silence felt alive, almost as if the lake was watching him. He whispered to himself, 10 years of searching. Please let me be right. He climbed into a small metal boat he rented from a nearby village. The boat creaked loudly in the quiet morning, breaking the silence. Slowly, he paddled toward the center of the lake.
The deeper he went, the darker the water became. It turned from blue to gray, and then almost black. He couldn't see a single thing under the surface. He reached the deepest point of the lake. His notebook said it was exactly here, right beneath him, where the lost city should be. Elias leaned over the boat's edge and looked into the water. For a moment, he thought he saw a flash of light below, a shimmer, like something glowing at the bottom. His heart jumped. Is that possible? But then, the wind suddenly changed. The water rippled violently. The boat rocked. Something, a shadow, moved under him. Slowly, silently, powerfully. Elias froze. It can't be a fish. It's too big. The shadow circled under the boat again. Again. Elias held his breath. And then the shadow stopped moving. It was directly under him. The lake became quiet again. Too quiet. He whispered, "If I want answers, I have to go down there." His hands were shaking, but he lowered the lantern toward the water. But before the lantern touched the surface, splash! The boat jolted violently. Something hit it from below. Elias fell backwards, dropping the lantern. He scrambled to grab the side of the boat. The water bubbled. The shadow moved again. And then something rose toward the surface. Not a creature. Not a rock. Something metallic. Square. Old. Covered in carvings. A piece of a building. Elias's eyes widened. The city is real. But before he could touch it, the piece sank again, as if pulled down by invisible hands. And the shadow disappeared. Elias sat in the boat, shaking, breathless, staring into the water. One thing was clear. He was no longer searching for the city. The city was watching him.